Hello, how you doing? It's Mr. Doodle Math, and today we're going to talk about the quadratic formula, right? So far, we've been looking at the quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c, and factoring it, right? So we factored it using three things. The greatest common factor, we've used difference of squares, and we've used multiply, add. But what happens if you can't do any of these methods? Can you still find x? Yes, it's the quadratic formula. So look, if the quadratic formula, if this can't be factored, right? That's factoring goes on that line, right? You'll use the quadratic formula, right? And the quadratic formula always works when solving for x, right? The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Okay? Where do you get a, b, and c from? Where do you get a, b, and c from?
Wait, I have a question.
What's your question?
On here it says the quadratic formula actually
Always works. The quadratic formula always works. These methods only work if it's factorable. But whether it's factorable or not, this method always works, right? A, B, and C, these numbers come from A, B, and C. They come from the equation, right? And so today we're going to work them out. We're going to work some examples out, okay? So let's look at this equation. This is number one. It says 3x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals 0, right? When you look at this, if we was to try to factor this, it would be a times c. Look, a, b, and c. A equals 3, b equals 5, and c equals 1. It's negative 5. It's minus 5. It's negative 5, right? And so if we were to consider multiply, add, we'll try to see what are the factors of 3 that add to give you negative 5. There are none. It's not factorable. Therefore, we use this formula here, right? So we'll substitute a, b, and c into this formula here. So it'll be negative b. So it'll be negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Does everybody see that? Yeah?
Yeah.
What's up, Reese? You good? So look, all I did was I hate to say all that I did, but what we did is we took A, B, and C and we put it into this formula.
Okay.
Okay? Now from here we just do the math, right? So minus negative 5 is positive 5, plus or minus the square root of negative 5 squared, 25, minus 4 times 3, which is what? Times 1. So it's minus 12 all over 6. We just continue to simplify, right? So it'd be 25 minus 12, which is what? 13. So our answer is 5 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 6. And we can leave it this way because 13 is not factorable, right? Is 13 a prime number? Yeah, it's a prime number. So you can't, it's just like that. All right? Yeah, and so plus or minus means that you got two answers. You got 5 plus the square root of 13 over 6 and 5 minus the square root of 13 over 6. That's what this is. Comprende? No?
I said comprendo.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, so look. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 says 6x squared minus 54 equals 0. Right? Now, you could solve this all of the ways. Right? You can solve this the way we did by the square root. By subtracting, you can add 54 to both sides. So you get 6x squared equals 54. Right? Divide by 6. And you get what? X squared equals what? Huh? 9. right? Then you take the square root of that. You get x equals plus or minus 3, right? So you can do it whatever way works for you. But what I want to show you is we was able to factor this out. We was able to factor this. But let's do it using a quadratic formula now, right? So here, what's A? What's B?
0.
And what's C? Negative 54. Alright, so let's put it in the formula. So it'd be negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC. I need calculators for this one. Right? All over 2 times 6. Right? If we do the math here, we'll get plus or minus the square root of 4 times 6 is 24. That's 24 times 54. 24 times 54. Huh? 1296. Right? All over
1296.
1296. Right. 1296. Okay? Now, this is a perfect square. What's the square root of 1296? Hey Siri. Hey Siri. What's the square root of 1296?
Here's what I found.
She didn't tell you. What's the square root of 1296? Open this page. I'm listening, guys.
Let me use those calculators. Let me
Look
see
it up
that.
real quick.
Let me see that calculator.
36?
Thank you. It's 36. Plus or minus
You know you
36.
can do it
I was just getting
Oh
it.
yeah, I could.
Plus or minus 36 over 12. Right? Plus or minus 36 over 12. If you divide 36 into 12, you get 3. So the answer is plus or minus 3. Right? The same thing as that. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright. Cool. Let us jump into let's do number 5. Number 5 is very, very intimidating. Right? Is anybody intimidated by number 5?
No.
Oh, I love it. Alright, let's look at it. Number 5 says 4x times the quantity of x minus 1 equals 2 times 1 minus x. First things first, you need to, let's distribute, right? 4x squared minus 4x equals 2 minus 2x. Now, when my first class did this, they forgot to give 2 to this x on the outside, right? But don't forget that. The next thing we want to do is we want to move everything to the left side of the equal sign. So we're going to set it equal to 0, okay? So we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So you'll get 4x squared minus 4x minus 2 equals negative 2x. And then we're going to add 2x to both sides, right? So we moved everything over. So now we have 4x squared minus 2x minus 2 equals 0, okay? Now, we could factor this, right? We could find the factors of 8 of negative 8 that add to give you negative 2. But because this lesson is about the quadratic formula, let's use the quadratic formula to solve it, okay? So, A, B, and C, what are they? What's A?
4.
What's B?
Negative 2.
And what's C?
Negative 2.
Great, okay? So we're gonna plug it into that equation. Negative B, I just wrote down B. Negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, let's do the math. So we got 2 plus or minus 4 minus plus, 32. 4 times 4 is 16 times 2 is 32. This is a minus. You got 2 minuses, you get a positive. We good with that? Give me a head now, let me know we good. Good. All over 8. For the sake of space, I'm going to just go this way. So it'll be 2 plus or minus 36. the square root of 36 all over 8. Square root of 36 is 6. So we end up with 2 plus or minus 6 all over 8. Now, because we got a perfect square here, we can simplify this more. Let's go ahead and finish it all out. Okay? So this means 2 plus 6 over 8 and 2 minus 6 over 8. 2 plus 6 over 8 is 8. 8 over 8 equals 1. 2 minus 6 over 8 is negative 4 over 8. You divide these by 2, you get, no, you divide it by 4, I'm sorry, you get 1/2, negative 1/2. So your solution is 1 and negative 1/2. That good? Okay. I'm moving fast.
No.
That's a like it's right here though. Alright. So let us slide over to the back. Alright, I want to make sure I cover everything for you in this video. Alright, we're gonna come back over here. Alright, so it says find the zeros of the quadratic function. When they say find the zeros, zeros mean x value, right? Or it means solve for x. Or it means the x-intercept of the graph, right? That's what the solution is to a quadratic equation. The solution is the place where your parabola crosses the x-axis, right? So when they say find the zeros, that's what they want to know. So essentially, plus or minus 3 means that this particular equation is crossing the x-axis at positive 3 and negative 3. This particular equation here is crossing the x-axis at 1 and negative 1/2. Okay? And so when they say y equals x squared plus 3x minus 2, we want to find it. We want to find the x's or the zeros. Can we factor this? What's the factors of negative 2 that equal 3? Nah. Right? So let's use the quadratic formula. Identify A, B, and C. What's A?
X 1
1. What's B?
3.
And C is
negative 2
negative 2. Okay? Put it in this equation. Negative B, negative 3, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C, all over 2A. Good? Yeah.
All right, let's do the math. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 8, all over 2. Does everybody see the 8? So it's negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Okay? So we're going to be left with negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2. 17 is that prime? I think it's prime. 17 is prime, so y'all can leave it like this. Okay? So again, quadratic formula, PIDAL, can always give you your zeros, your x value, the solution to the quadratic formula. Okay? And so just remember that negative b on the outside. Plus or minus means you have two solutions. Okay? Now, if you have any more questions, comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Mr. Do the Math out.